And obviously, these are the men behind Walt Before Mickey. And I hope everyone had a chance to see this amazing film. Obviously, it was a full, packed house with not enough seats for everybody, and definitely a credit to the filmmakers and everybody involved. Actually, I was looking for Joe. So I wanted to introduce Mr. Joe Restaino. He's going to be moderating, unless you want me to. And this, if you guys don't know,
these guys are gonna do all the talking.
If you guys don't know Joe by now, this is the co-founder. This is his vision. It's just, I think this is a wonderful start to something new. And so with that, I give you the mic, sir.
Right. Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right, well, let's get started with some introductions of the team over here. You guys want to go around and introduce who you are and what your role on the film was, and then we'll go into some questions and audience questions.
Let's give this young man on the end a mic real quick.
Oh, it's not working? That doesn't work?
Is it working? Oh,
Jaden, who's going to sing today, I hear.
Hi, my name is Jaden Chase. I'm from Canada. First of all, I want to thank Armando and the crew for inviting me to this panel. I'm really honored. I wrote a song for this movie, and I want to sing you a little part of it. So it's called I've Got a Dream. It goes like this. It's gonna be one of those times when your mind's gonna give out, your heart's gonna lay out each and every of your color, leaving fire in the eyes of those you inspire. It's gonna be one of those times when they tell you to give up, you know that you can't stop each and every step of the climb, leading you much closer to what you desire. You don't need silver, no gold. You just watch it all unfold. You got a passion, make it a vision, turn it into your goal. You got a feeling, make it a blessing, turn it into your own. I found the strength inside to see, found the better part of me, and I'll never let it go. I've got a dream. Thank you very much.
Wow.
You get to hear it in the trailer. Thank you.
Now you got to follow that, man. What are you going to do? I'm
sorry.
I mean, you got to, your turn.
I have the trained mouse in my pocket.
Wow. Okay.
No, I'm Adam Falkoff, one of the co-executive producers of the film.
Armando Gutierrez, writer, producer, and I found Jaden.
Amazing find. Wow. Incredible song, Jaden. Seriously, that's beautiful. And you wrote that for the film. Wow. That's so cool.
Arthur Bernstein, producer, writer, play Frank L. Newman, and I found Armando.
Who'd you found someone too, right?
Yeah, I'm Richard Bernstein, Arthur's father, and unbelievable what they did here. They asked me to be the real estate agent in the movie, and I'm an associate producer. And like I say, when I went originally to see them film, I was blown away by what was happening.
Well, we had the rights to the book Walt Before Mickey. It's the only book ever approved by Diane Disney Miller, and about 98% of it is true. There was like 2 created characters, and just to throw them in there.
And along the way, as the original drafts of the script were created, we kept sending them to Timothy Susannon, and Walter Elias Disney Miller. That's Diane Disney Miller's son. They all knew that this was being created. Unfortunately, Diane passed away before we started making the movie. But the Walt Disney Family Museum knows about the movie. They're hopefully going to screen it soon, and we obviously gave that entire family a special thanks because of this opportunity.
And Thomas Nicollet, the head, when he played Walt Disney, he walked around with the book in his hand on the set, making sure that what was said was what came out of the book. In fact, I was there a couple times when they made some changes, because he went back to the book and actually went to the certain page and made sure that they were doing it appropriately.
We took a hiatus during the holiday and came back in January and filmed for another 18 days, between January, February, and March. It was ironic that we filmed all the child scenes in December without knowing who was playing Walt Disney. And then, literally a couple days before we start filming in the beginning of 14, we were trying to get another actor to play Walt, and Thomas E. and Nicholas came to the table. So it was, somewhat magical how it happened.
In fact, he was the last person that we actually signed, and the first person that we signed was John Heder. And I'll tell you a funny story. When we got them, we booked John's flight like months in advance, and then when we booked Thomas last, and they ended up sitting next to each other on the way down, and it's like fate. They got to bond, they got to know each other. So by the time I picked them up, I had a big sign saying, Jimmy McElroy and the kid from Rookie of the Year. They're laughing. So we get in there and I pick them up, and then I'm driving. I forgot to close the back trunk, so I look like an idiot. All the luggage falls out on the street. I swear, it's a true story.
So
But
you were just so excited, though. There was so much
I
going on.
was extremely excited.
Yeah. This was like your first film from beginning, like a feature film at this level, starting from the beginning to all the way through?
This is our first full feature film.
Yeah, so you're like picking up John here, Thomas, and you're like just pumped up, ready to go, and you leave the back trunk open. That's awesome.
I'll talk about where we shot it, and then Arthur can tell you where we raised the money. We shot it primarily in Central Florida. So, our home base was DeLand, Florida, but we filmed in Tavares, in a bunch of little small towns, Sanford, in portions of Orlando. We actually filmed a little bit in downtown Tampa by Ybor City for some of the exteriors. We were just chasing down wherever we could find an authentic 1920s building that fit the certain moments, that looked like a building in Kansas City, that looked like a building in old Los Angeles, and it just magically came together. So the old cars, we found an old car club that one of the guys had worked for Disney, so he was a fanatic, and it just everything kept falling into place as we were making it.
To answer your question, her question, it took us like over 2.5 years to make this project. We worked on the script for like the first year, and then the hardest part, as you all know, is to get the money. So I had to go to my first person. It was my mother. And she wrote a check, and then we started going to, now we had the money in the bank, and then we can go to other producers and try to raise more funds, and then we got more money coming in, and then we started going on started hiring the people, we started marketing it. And it's a hard process, but it's challenging, but we got it done. It's fun, and here we are. And
What was the biggest challenge of this film for you guys to?
Richard Bernstein.
Just that?
No, we wanted to make it authentic as possible. We wanted to make sure that we weren't the guys that messed up Walt Disney. We wanted to make sure that it was accurate, it was to the point. We wanted to show him as a human, not as like this magical figure, that disappears. Because he built the ultimate dreams, besides doing the first to do live action animation and the first, to, get women in jobs and also, make the animation to another level and then make this whole magical kingdom that's, a couple hours from here. But he just takes everything to the next level, and he keeps pushing himself, and we made our movie like that. That's why we had 18-hour days, and our crew was not tired and groggy, but they understood what the process was to make a great film.
No, the other thing that's challenging is that there's more. There's actually more to the story than we were able to even show. So when we completed the script, the script was 150 pages. And, when you start doing a budget for what a 150-page movie is going to cost, like, okay, this is never happening. And then along the way, you've got to make decisions that will keep the story where it needs to be and enable you to make it. And then at the very end, you got to figure out, okay, now you have the opportunity to get a John Heder, a Thomas E. Nicholas, to be in the movie, a David Henry. and you got to figure out, all right, that's going to cost this, and it's always more than you expect. And now you've got to figure out what scenes you may need to cut to afford Thomas Ian Nicholas, to afford John Heder. So it's a constant balancing act that doesn't end till you stop filming. So.
And another thing that we had to manage was some egos on set. We had to move people around. Armando and I, we're the creators of this film. They had to listen to us. It's everybody wanted to put their input in, but we wanted to make sure it was put in a positive way, not in a narcissist way.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I guess this is pretty public because last night in the Q&A after the screening, it was mentioned that your ultimate director came on only 3 weeks before shooting began. So to the extent you can, being politically correct and not being sued for anything else, could you share with us what happened with the first director who was supposed to direct? What did you not like about that individual or the direction that they were going?
Well, the first director, he did a lot of some of the child scenes, and we had some creative differences because he was moving not at a rapid pace. Now, Kwa, he comes in, he brings his team, he's very quick and efficient. He also brought his camera guy from his country, and he would come in and have everything strapped on his chest, and we'd have 2 cameras instead of 1 camera going. And he was good, He was.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is there's a different feel that every director brings to a movie. This is just from my limited experience in the business. If Spielberg is directing a movie, you can watch it and Spielberg directed that movie. And as we were going through the process, it was a different movie. It was going a different way. That Arthur, after watching the outtakes from the first day, you can tell. You can tell. Anybody in this room could tell that this would have been a different kind of movie. So hopefully that answers your question.
I'd like to know what your budget was for the film and how you made decisions about what you would put where, that is, where the biggest chunks went, and areas where you compromised or economized.
Well, our budget was really low. It was under $1 million, under 600,000, and we kept it so tight that we were able to get some favors. We had people, we had the costume designer that she did Pirates of the Caribbean, and she had a certain budget that she had to work with, and we got it done, and we kept mixing or moving around pieces, because women have to look sexy and pretty, and they have to put on different wardrobes, and we can't have Lily and Disney wearing the same dress. We can't have Edna and Charlotte wearing the same clothes, so we had to move pieces around and mix and match. And then the guys, we can get away with it because we wear suits, but women people are always looking at them. They're picky, especially the women on women. They're judging all the time. So also the cars, and then DeLand had this historic feel. Every building was like a brick layer building and had that 1920s feel. So we're very tight.
Yeah, and the other thing is when we first went into it, we didn't know John Heder was going to show up. We didn't know, we have the opportunity to get actors like that have distribution value. And as they kept coming, Jodie Sweetin, David Henry, you had to make decisions, and the budget kept going up because what are you going to say? No, John Heder, you're not going to play Roy Disney. No, you have to. That's a genius move. And then David Henry showed up, and David Henry, Wizards of Waverly Place, now is playing Ronald Reagan. Another one is Taylor Gray. Taylor Gray is an actor that's unknown now, but he's in the new Star Wars Rebels, and by this time next year he'll be a household name. And he showed up and was available for 1 week and said, "Okay, I have 1 week, and then I've got to go shoot Star Wars." So of course you got to do what you got to do, find the money and put him in the movie.
And we also had Academy nominee Hunter Gomez from National Treasure. He did a great job, and we got some great local talent too. I mean, I give credit to Sheena Collette and Tim Williams. They did an excellent job on set. I'm trying to think, is there anybody else we're forgetting? I mean, Jodie was great. I mean, you guys saw her. She's dynamic. She's wonderful.
Well, I like the story that Jody told last night after the screening that gave an illustration of the budget when Walt Disney said, "Oh, can I get my shirt dirty when I'm crawling through the garbage to look for a sandwich?" And he was told, "No, you have to keep it clean because we need it for some other scenes."
So I have a question, gentlemen. So Arthur and I were talking a little bit about this last night. Now, what is next for this film, distribution-wise, strategy-wise, as far as film festivals, that kind of thing? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, so it's very public. We signed with Voltage Pictures and Mission International. So
Yes.
Voltage Pictures, they were responsible for Dallas Buyers Club. So they're in charge of the rollout and the domestic distribution, and Mission Pictures is doing the international distribution. And they did a movie called Bella that was quite successso. So between both of them, we're in great hands.
So now, is Voltage looking to do any kind of theatrical release, limited?
Yeah. So right now it's evolving. At first, it wasn't a theatrical release. Over the past 2 months, we've gotten quite a few theaters that have signed on. So there will definitely be a limited theatrical release. The final number of theaters we'll know in August, but it'll be available around.
I mean, they're playing trailers right now in South Dakota and Minneapolis and Santa Ana, California.
We're very fortunate to have Voltage as a distributor. We're also seeing if we can enhance that with some big studios. So it's been screened for some major studios out in LA to see if they wanted to come aboard and also work with Voltage. And the response has been very positive.
Who's next? Yes, ma'am.
So many people don't know Walt's personal story or his early years, and you've got a whole generation of filmmakers coming up who do computer animation and all of that. What is your perspective of how seeing what Walt went through will influence this next generation of filmmakers? Just your personal feelings about that, I'd love to hear.
I mean, we're seeing it now where it first started off with 2D and then we went to 3D and now we're going to 4D. I mean, kids are getting smarter, and I mean, they're outdating all of us. Even I have a baby, it's 2, and I got a kid at 17, and he knows more computers than I do. So I mean, he started something, and everybody's just building on top of what he started. But he was the pioneer, and that's what we wanted to show. He just took it to the next level on everything he did, including that big building, big castle out there. But I mean, everything he touches goes to gold, and we wanted to show that before he did that, he was on the bottom like everyone else, and he worked his way, and he had persistence. He had, there's a lot of stuff that we could have added to the film that about his father, how he instilled the hard work, and he pushed them his whole life. I mean, he back in that time they used to beat their kids. His father used to beat him. But we had to keep it PG rating, If it was up to me, I'd make it PG-13. But we kept, we wanted to make it a clean, fun family movie. So that was the other goal for us, besides making, showing Walt like this maniac, that's tyrant, and he's pushing all the people around. But he was a go-getter, and he took those those things that his father instilled on him and had a great crew around him.
And I think people that hopefully watch this movie are hopefully going to come out thinking, never give up, and you're never too late to start. Because it's kind of ironic that Walt Disney thought he was getting into the business too late. Winkler Pictures, Mintz Pictures, companies that at that time might have been, so the fact that even Walt Disney, the Empire creator, had that fear tells you that nobody should have that fear, because anybody could do it. You just got to stay determined, get a goal, and keep dreaming. So.
Yeah, and I agree. I think this film is very good for kids to watch. Shows the spirit of entrepreneurship, shows following your dreams, and it's sort of reflective of all of us up here. I mean, this is our first full-length feature. I'm a first-time producer, and just don't give up and keep following your dreams.
Anybody in sales would love to have this movie because it would teach their salespeople to continue to do whatever you have to do to be successful and not give up. So anybody in sales, if you watch this and you're having a bad day, if you think you're having a bad day, Walt Disney had a worse day than you had, and he overcame it. And he's the biggest and the best. And the people today who go to Disney have no clue, no idea what this man had to go through to become as successful as he is, as his enterprise and his name, his legacy. I mean, that's what it's all about. So it's the American dream, even though in some places you're not allowed to talk about it anymore. It is the American dream, and you could do whatever you want to do. And this movie is what it's all about.
And one other thing, Walt always looked for how to better improve whatever he was working on, whether it was adding sound, just a full feature animated movie, just kept going farther and farther and farther, no matter how many people were like, no, you're never. This is Fantasia, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs will never make money. Yeah, right, sure. That he knew things. He knew that if you showed people something new, that they would gravitate towards it, and it's still true today. I mean, with movies, with singers, with everything.
What also is amazing, if you look at what came out of Disney, it wasn't just Disney. It was Looney Tunes. It was all of the great cartoons, all of the different businesses that was with this gentleman. And if you look at each different company that came out, and you add it all up, that was the industry. I mean, it was unbelievable. So it wasn't just Disney. It's everything that what he created, and everybody, they didn't get paid, they didn't like it, but he taught them all great work ethic, and they took it to the next level for themselves and become very successful.
I mean, I see a gentleman right here. He told me earlier that he does 2D. Walt was the first to win an Academy Award for a movie called Flowers and Trees. And, he also did the skeleton dance, and it still plays today. And kids watch that cartoon. And you would think the Looney Tunes created, but it was Walt that created it. So that whole team that was around him was a dream team. It's to me, it's like Magic and Larry and Michael. I mean, they had Fritz, and they had Howard, Hugh and Fred, and all those guys. Those guys all won Academy Awards, including even the bad guy, Charles Mintz. He won 2 Academy Awards. Then he died, but but they were all. They just didn't know how they. It's like even us. We had 6, 7 child actors, and we had one big megastar. We had to get all those egos, and the same thing that Walt did. He had all those egos on set, and he had to make it work. And he did what he did best. He knew it. He stopped directing. He stopped animating. He became the ultimate producer, and he just kept pushing to the next level.
So you just brought me to something else. So there were some scenes that were written about Walt wanting to be an actor and working on movie sets as an extra, as an actor. And they were hilarious, because you're picturing Walt Disney as an actor, on a Hollywood movie set, and we're like, Arthur, oh gosh, we really want to show this. This is such an amazing scene. Okay, but it's going to cost us 15% of the budget of the movie. So it was decisions like that changed. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, Walt would have wanted more focus on the journey of overcoming the failures, and but so there's more we could have done that would have been great content. But
I mean, we had what he's talking about. We had a scene where he comes on a set as an extra, and it was supposed to rain, and it kills the whole set. But we have to create the rain. I mean, that would cost a lot of money. Oh yeah, we had some Charlie Chaplin scenes. We had I forget the famous director that he was going to talk to off set, because we're trying to show that even though when he went on set, he would talk to like anybody does when they're on a job. They talk to the secretary, they talk to the people behind the scenes. He's a go-getter, so he's trying to further himself for his career, but we couldn't put everything in the movie that we wanted to. Even the child scenes, we had a scene where there was like a big carnies and people are like, shooting and they're smoking cigarettes and the women and the men are screwing around, and you see this little girl and she's perplexed and she's really sad, and then this boy comes up to her and says, "Don't worry, I'm going to build you the most cleanest, safest park ever." But that scene would cost $50,000.
Can you talk a little bit about how in the movie you see Walt struggling and you see challenges and you see him overcome challenges, and then at one point he thinks, "No, I'm not going to continue," and then he remembers what his dad said and he continues. Did you ever feel like that?
Well, we went into this knowing that one way or another this movie was getting made. We told ourselves that, regardless of not having, the most experience, we said, no matter what, if we start this, if we take these rights, this movie's getting made. Regardless of what we were able to raise, and so that's why it was a constant evolution to see, okay, now we can do more because we have this, or now we have Thomas E. Nicholas, we can do this. But I think Walt would have wanted it that way, I think, in some weird way, because when he started, he didn't start with anything,
Mm-hmm.
Started with just the idea, I want to create animations, I want to, draw, I want to film two guys on the side of an alley and sell it to a theater to show it. So it's he started with dreams that just kept getting bigger.
Yeah, there's a scene in the movie where the cop comes up to him and he goes, "Don't I know you?" We had an original scene that we filmed that was an insurance scene where Walt's filming an insurance for the car he gets into an accident and he's wobbling and we're showing how he's directing. So, but again, if we had to shoot all that, it would boost the budget up.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find young Walt Disney? How did you find the young man who played Walt Disney as a child?
Yeah, he did an audition for one of our local casting agents, and he did a great job. We had two young Walt Disneys. We had another one by the name of Owen Teague, who was on Nickelodeon, and we had another casting director out of LA that found him, and we put them together. And then the friend of Walt was founded through the sister of the teacher that slams the desk on. I guess that's his older sister. So he plays Walt's best friend, Walt Pfeiffer.
And you found some local talent too.
Oh yeah, we had a lot of great local talent.
Mm-hmm. How did you find them?
There was a casting agency out of Orlando.
Mm-hmm. We held a couple days of auditions in Orlando, and just experienced, non-experienced actors came to the table, and for a bunch of different roles, because we always want, the larger roles. We figured, okay, Walt has to be a star. Roy Disney was huge because of the support he offered Walt, and once we had John Heder, it was very easy to get more actors to show up to the table.
One guy came out of retirement from like he didn't act for 20 years. He was in Daryl. He was in See No Evil, Hear No Evil. He's the guy that's yelling. He's the guy that's trying to punch Richard Pryor, and Gene Wilder's like, oh, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. He's the guy that plays the doctor that gives Walt the money.
What about the mouse?
Oh, we had 6 mice, and we had an animal trainer by the name of Stacy Marino, and we actually ended up using that one mouse. He did everything, and as I told you guys last time, he has a SAG card now.
So the actor didn't have a hard time working with the mouse and having the mouse on his hand. And
that mouse is something else, because it was social. It was like easygoing. I mean, I had it on my hand. My wife had it. It was just it was meant to be that mouse.
What was the process you went through to find a singer-songwriter here, and how many songs did he write and/or perform for the film, whether they were used or not? And the second question being, does your production company have other productions in mind going forward?
Yeah, so the first question, there's 2 singers that we worked with. Jaden wrote 4 songs for the movie, and then we have another singer from California that the composer found Jeremy Rubolino, who's an amazing composer, put together a very, very good song. So he's also a music writer. And as far as our future projects, we have a big one that we're doing with Michael Uslan, the producer of Batman. It's a feature biopic about Lou Gehrig, and the director is Jay Russell, the director of Ladder 49. So,
and we got the rights to the book, The Luckiest Man.
Yeah, so we'll be producing that one next year.
I started off as a film major, then I went to University of Miami, and then I moved to LA, worked for Adam Sandler for a couple of years, and then got tired of being in LA, and then came back to Florida because I love Florida, and started doing a lot of commercials. And I did a short film with O.J. Simpson where he punched me out, and then I didn't think that was the right thing to do. So then my father was like, you're good at meeting people. Why don't you come in my business? So I went to the insurance business, and we do a lot of life, health, disability, long-term care, asset protection, and credit-proof policies. And I've been doing that for the last 11 years. And then Armando and I got together, and we said, why don't we do a movie? I said, okay, let's do one.
Tell them where you met, guys. Tell them where you met.
All right, so I'm at Universal with a whole bunch of people, and everybody's yelling my name, Bernstein, and then it's a Halloween Horror Nights, and then Armando walks in. He goes, "Who's this Bernstein guy?" I go, "Hey, what's up?" I'm the only sober guy. That's why they're yelling my name.
I mean, I was my background is not in the movie business also. So I was an investor. I was involved in some real estate and some other ventures in Orlando, and it was just the opportunity to make a movie on Walt Disney, kind of pushed me to have the confidence to do it. And I also had met another producer that had her challenges making a movie. This is actually a very good story. So when I first started batting around the idea of making a movie, a friend from California introduces me to a producer named Rachel Winters that had a 3-year struggle making a little movie called Dallas Buyers Club. And she said, "You know what? Hey, I have this script. I knew that this movie had to get made. I knew I was going to make it whether I got a very big actor or a small actor." She happened to get Matthew McConaughey. And she struggled raising money. She struggled getting distribution, every possible thing, and she still did it. And then after she was telling me the story, I'm like, wow, I could probably pull this off. And I told Arthur that conversation, and he's like, oh, and David, what David Frankel told you. That's a good story.
I mean, David said, you got to follow your passion, follow your dreams, and make it happen, and that's what we did. David Frankel is the director of, Devil Wears Prada, and he also did Marley and Me, and he did the Birds movie too, with Steve Martin.
So one piece of advice: find a supportive team of people that are actually going to give you the confidence you need, because it does take a lot of confidence to make it on this kind of 2.5-year venture. But when David Frankel told him that the script was good, I was like, whoa, that's a compliment.
I mean, he was like a mentor. The good thing is that, he would tell us it's good, but then he would say, hey, fix this, work on this. It was great, because that's what we needed, some constructive criticisms. We could go to our family, friends, and they could tell us, but we had some professionals that are in the industry, and they could say, hey, do this. We even had a great casting director that couldn't help be on our project. He was originally going to do it. His name was Ed Arenas, and he casted Bad Boys and all these movies, but he gave us direction as well. He would help us, guide us, say, hey, do this, do that. It's our first film. We wanted to not make mistakes.
Yeah, something Ed really, made me pay attention to is, you sometimes you got to make a decision. Okay, you want to cast actors that fit the role perfectly, with a blend of actors that'll help you get distribution. Because you could have the greatest movie ever made, but if you don't get distribution, it is very hard for people to see it. Right. And that's a shame, because it happens a lot.
It's like writing a script. I had a professor, his name was Rafael Lima, and he wrote Miami Vice, and he used to say, there's a lot of mountains. You could be stuck on the mountain. You gotta move on. And that's what we did. We moved on. If we see a problem, we'd say, hey, we got to work this out, move on.
For me, I've always been interested in filmmaking. I've taken a screenwriting course and been to Sundance many times, and I run a public affairs firm in Washington, D.C., and we represent many of the studios, Sony Pictures, Universal, before the U.S. government on copyright issues, piracy issues, and we also run foundations of various actors and actresses that want their causes known in Washington, D.C. before decision makers. So there's some ties with my background in Hollywood and movie making, and I've known Arthur for many years and knew his background, and he always wanted to do a movie, and we spoke about it back and forth about different script ideas, and one day we were talking, he said, I'm gonna do this movie. It was Walt Before Mickey, and I said, that sounds pretty good. So that's how I got involved.
Arthur was able to take his prospecting ability from our side of the business and put it into his side of the business, meaning that because he always had a passion since he's been a kid about movies. So he was able to prospect good people, and when he went into the movie side, he did the same thing. And then he teamed up with Armando and they made a nice team together. But it was really funny about the story about how they met. I was at a cocktail party for a fundraiser, and the gentleman who's a client of mine, and Armando's leaving, and I introduced myself. He said, "Are you related to Arthur Bernstein?" I said, "Yeah, it's my son." And he told me how they met in Disney World on Halloween night. So I have to relate that story because I think it's a great story. I said, "Gee, you ought to call Arthur. He was just here. You just missed him." And so they got back together and did whatever they had to do. But it's just, you never know where the next thing's going to come from. It's the same thing that they brought out in the Disney about you just got to keep doing it until you get to do it to make it. And that's what he's always wanted to do all his life. I could just say that.
First of all, congratulations on creating such a great movie. My question to you is, you talked a lot about the perseverance that you all showed when you began this project, but was there ever a point during production that you were at a low point where you were thinking, how are we going to complete this? Or was there a real, where you hit the wall, but you were able to overcome and push through, and can you speak to that?
You mean, was there a time when Arthur said, "You've ruined my movie"?
I mean, there's always stressful days and long days and moments when when the scheduling really was off and we were short 2 or 3 scenes and we're thinking, oh my, how are we gonna finish the last 2 or 3 days? But I think the minute Qua was there and Arthur and the rest of the team assembled, the movie was gonna get completed. We all felt that, we knew that. I'll give you one example. We had a set of locations that were booked for, I don't remember if it was a Tuesday or Wednesday, but for that day. And the night before, we're going through the pre-production for the following day. And the locations person says, "I messed up." I'm like, "Oh, how'd you mess up?" "I booked the locations for the wrong day." So we literally had 0 locations to film the next day because they thought we were coming the following week. So things like that
Scramble.
So yeah, so you have to move scenes from later on in the schedule, put them back in, so those kind of moments, those were stressful because the actor's like, "Oh, where are my sides? Oh, we don't know what you're filming tomorrow." So you can imagine, but we overcame it.
One time we had the cops stop us. They thought we did that on purpose, but they really stopped us to take pictures with the cast. So I mean, those delays, cost money. Yeah, that's right.
So we were filming at Stetson University, and the president of Stetson University let us use the campus for a lot of scenes and let us use her house. But it was kind of ironic. The first day we're filming there, John Heater shows up, and I'm showing up to set. I'm like, there's like 400 people swarming John Heater. And I go on Twitter because I'm like, okay, obviously they're going to be tweeting about it. And I tweet, Napoleon Dynamite is on Stetson University campus. And because of the fanfare that got, we were 3-4 hours behind that day, just because of the fans that just wanted to see him filming a scene. And it's the scenes, if you saw the movie, it's the scenes when Walt goes to visit Roy in the hospital. That exterior scene was actually at Stetson University, and it was the exterior of one of the original buildings of Stetson. But the reason why everyone found out was because behind that is their lunchroom. So all the students were like, "That's Napoleon Dynamite right on the other side of this glass." But it was great because all of them have been followers, fans, and still messages to this day like, "Those days were amazing. When are you guys coming back to campus?"
I mean, we took David Henry, and he was hungry, and he's like, "I want to go to Einstein's." I said, "No, you don't, David." He goes, "Yeah, no, I want Einstein's." I said, "All right." So I take him to Einstein's, and I got Flora too, who played MJ Winkler, and we're going there, and all of a sudden, now imagine, we know that Stetson has business here, but imagine 100 female, strong business women, very aggressive, and they see David Henry, they're just flonking on him, and then they're all texting and tweeting, and then this girl comes running in a bath towel, slips and falls, and wanted to take a picture with David because she heard that he was there. It was crazy. He was mobbed.
What do you think made his success the balance between being an artist, a director, versus being a producer? Because that's such a line that you need to, you got to draw at one point or another to make things work, right? To keep the integrity of the creative property versus making it work as a production. Obviously, they weren't successful based on the movie that you made. But what do you think actually did make his success? What was his line that you guys think was the success?
I was asked this question. So I actually had a lot of time to think about it, and he's the idea guy. He's the guy that knew that, hey, we make this movie, it's gonna work. And Roy was the guy that would help him execute it. And as you know, in a movie, there's a lot of great ideas for movies, a lot of them, a lot of scripts, but it takes a balance of the idea, the creative side, with people that are gonna actually execute it and do it. And I think once the team started assembling, that he had, Walt with a good idea, Mickey Mouse, that could draw, one of the greatest animators in history, if not the best, and Roy that could figure out how to make it financially feasible and find the money to pay for it. That's it. He had the team he needed at that moment to get to where the next step was.
So, to me, when I was watching the movie, it seemed like Walt had to grow up at one point or another to realize that it's a business, right? Obviously, it wasn't going well the way he was approaching it, and because and that's why he needed Roy and whatnot. But what do you? At what point do you think it was that he realized? Or do you think he ever did? Do you think he just kept on with his artist self? He never grew up.
No, he's
the eternal
kid. He's the ultimate child. I mean, when he met Ub, he was throwing to get his attention because he would ignore him because he's so focused on drawing. I mean, he would tell the guys, "Yeah, I have a check for you," and it bounced. He did whatever. He would play. Actually, there was some stuff that we left out in the movie too. He'd play pranks on his team, and. We showed them where he messed up Rudy's desk, but he would play pranks on the other guys. I mean, they were kids, they had fun.
And going past this movie, after he creates Mickey Mouse, he was a risk taker. So, even though he had achieved, Mickey Mouse was a huge global success, okay, let's take another risk and do this and do that. And I think it takes that youthful component in people's personalities that's fearless to do that. And because the world has a way of scaring you away from doing anything nowadays, but he never lost that. He never lost that to the very end. From making Mickey Mouse, Snow White, pumping out these feature motion pictures, creating a theme park, based on, characters that everyone thought would be out of business in a year. Think about that. They thought Magic Kingdom would bring him down.
But Armando, he was a genius. I mean, what people don't realize about Walt Disney, and you look at people today that are successful in business, and the person who's successful always surrounds themselves with other people that are better than they are in other things. I mean, you take Donald Trump, he's brilliant, but if you look at his people around him, if you go to his home office and you see who his CFO is and his CEO, and you see the other people around him, you'll see he's the guy that takes the risk, and the other guys make sure that everything's paid for. And Disney was brilliant. I mean, when his brother came in, like Armando said, his brother was the glue to put it together. But look at the animators that he had put together. Look at all those other people, and then look at the offshoots of their businesses again. So you know that he was able to see talent. He just, and when you have a good team around you, the talent comes out. Sometimes the people who fail are the people that don't have the talent around them to help them be successful.
Yeah, I just gotta say this, because you bring up the talent. People always ask me, because I'm the Jewish guy, was Walt an anti-Semite? And to tell you the truth, we didn't find any of that evidence. And Fritz Franglang was a Jewish man, and he worked with Walt, and he went off and on, but he kept coming back, and they worked together till the day he died. So I didn't find any evidence of that. I just wanted to say that, just throw it out there.
This concludes our panel. Gentlemen, it is definitely an honor for Skyway to have your film as the first opening film. I definitely say we definitely wish you guys the best. Thank you very much for being here. And this concludes our panels for today. So thank you, everybody in the audience as well.
Thank you.